I'm going to pause for a second.
Take a second.
And, yep.
Breathe. All right.
Here in the Cube, we have shows that cover school news, future careers, and important topics that matter to you. But this is going to be none of that. I'm Bobby Brenner, this is Jacob Parker, and here in Trailing Off, we're going to be talking about the everything else, from TikTok trends to movie news. So Jacob, what do you have for us today?
Well, I'm sure you're well aware of a little app called Twitter, right? Very popular, very famous. It even has a word in the dictionary now. Right, and I'm sure you're also aware that recently Elon Musk has bought the app and has complete control over it. Well, in his infinite power and genius, he has now made the app lose around $40 billion in value.
That's a lot.
To think this was once, like a peak of technology and social media to now just slowly, kind of fastly, be dying off. It's really almost impressive.
I would also like to point out that it is not Twitter. It is the website formerly known as Twitter.
That is right. One of the genius changes he has made was rebranding Twitter to X, a decision that he has been trying to do as early as when he was a part of PayPal, trying to change it from PayPal to X.com. 20 years in the making, he finally got his X.com website. Sort of.
Just an opinion, it is such an unpleasant name. Just
yes.
I'm just going on X.
Going from Twitter with tweeting to X with, what's their new, it's like, do they call it posting?
Yeah, it's just posting. Yeah, it's just very generic.
They say the best thing to do in marketing is completely rebrand everything and eliminate a commonly used phrase associated with the brand.
Yes.
Well, last time I've seen something lose value like that was when they appraised my grandma's house. Apparently they don't like black mold in the basement, you know what I'm saying? All right. So next up, Taylor Swift in the NFL.
We do have Taylor Swift in the news. Travis Kelce. He went on the record and said that he thinks that the NFL is putting way too much emphasis on the whole him and Taylor Swift dating thing. What do you think of that?
I'd like to start by saying I think Taylor Swift fans are excellent. Don't find my house. You guys are amazing.
That is a lie. Swifties are terrifying.
He is the man you want. I am not affiliated. I am merely a co-host. Thank you. But I don't watch I don't watch NFL much. I definitely don't watch the Chiefs.
Neither do I, but you see it everywhere. It's like the fans of Taylor Swift are buying tickets to football games that they never would have watched originally.
If people want to support their person, they can support their person at my house. Yeah, go Birds. Eagles all the way, thank you. So, but I mean, look, I think a big problem with live sports now is younger people are not as interested. So I guess for the NFL, if you have a lot of young people supporting Taylor Swift and going to the games, that's a good thing for them. I don't watch Chiefs games. I don't listen to Taylor Swift, so they can cook on that.
This applies to you none whatsoever.
Hey, I'm hands off. This is all you.
And anyway,
Rolling Stones.
Yes. And anyway, I found this article that I thought you would be interested in, that I found hilarious.
Yeah?
It is recently Rolling Stone put out an article about the 50 worst movie decisions in history.
What do we have on this?
So the interesting about the list is that they just factor in every bad decision Hollywood has ever made. The way they rank these decisions is very interesting because you have some genuine. Here, I'm just going to go through the list.
All right, yeah.
And you can kind of bounce off some of the things we have here.
So, like creative choices, or is it like?
So, for example, number 49, Will Smith turns down The Matrix and Django Unchained.
Was he going to be Neo in The Matrix?
Yes.
Or would he be
Question mark?
Morpheus? Well, either way.
No, he would be Neo. He was asked to be the lead because he was coming right off of Bad Boys and Independence Day.
Oh, he had some big movies coming. And Django Unchained?
Yes.
I mean, first off, let's say I think Jamie Foxx did an excellent job. Really good movie. Very just.
That's not a role that I can see Will Smith doing as good in.
No, he like Django very much like he had his funny moments, but they were funny for a different reason than what I think Will Smith has. Right? Will Smith, I think, is very like cool, funny guy. Like, I'm competent. I'm in this situation. This is wacky. I'm punching aliens in Independence Day and holding tentacle babies in Men in Black. But Django, it's a much more serious. There's almost a sadness to the comedy because it's like he's an ex-slave, obviously. He doesn't know a lot. Like some of the jokes are like he wears a goofy outfit because he doesn't really understand like in whatever I forget the time period the movie takes place, 1800s. He wears like a bright blue outfit. And he doesn't know some words, and it's like it's funny, but it's also like there's a sadness to it that I don't think Will Smith could really. I just can't see Will Smith portraying that role well compared to someone like Jamie Foxx.
We have here number 39, making The Hobbit into 3 movies.
I mean,
that is the shortest of the books, is it not?
Yeah, no, it is one book. I'm pretty sure it was basically like Tolkien was kind of writing a kid's story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting story, but the story is really just like, Bilbo Baggins and the dwarfs are just going, they fight Smaug, and that's kind of it. But they added so much to it that I think, like, if they wanted to make it longer than one movie, they could have done a good 2-movie thing. But there's just so much unnecessary, like, additions, like they throw in Legolas and all these little things. And I know a lot of people have given, who directed Lord of the Rings?
That's a good question.
A lot of people gave, it's not Percy Jack Peterson?
Peter Jackson.
A lot of people gave Peter Jackson a lot of heat for The Hobbit because, I mean, compared to The Lord of the Rings, a movie that made an insane amount of awards and was nominated for even more, to go to The Hobbit, I think people forget that Peter Jackson, when he did The Lord of the Rings, this was like a major production. He worked on this for a long, long time. With The Hobbit, Warner Brothers, right? Do they own Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
The owners of the people that were producing it, Warner Brothers, kind of started the project, and then like halfway through, they were like, Peter Jackson, you did the Lord of the Rings, that was excellent, come in and direct this. And it really didn't, Peter Jackson wasn't given the same time and resources and I think creative control to make The Hobbit one book into like an amazing 3-movie trilogy like Lord of the Rings.
You're really going into these individual things, which I appreciate.
Okay.
But the reason I point out this list is because it takes something simple like an opinion, like The Hobbit should not be 3 movies, or Will Smith made a mistake by giving up the spots in The Matrix, and
yeah, I wouldn't exactly consider an actor not choosing a role to be a horrible decision.
Yeah.
I mean, both Jamie Foxx and Will Smith roles are alive and well right now.
But number 15, MGM gets a teenage Julie Garland hooked on prescription pills.
I'm not
over
sure.
over the course of The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, like it was like 1940s they made that movie?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was what I would consider to be a movie decision, more as...
And right next to it is the decision of simply Jar Jar Binks in the prequel Star Wars films.
I'm not sure if forcing kind of torturing an actress, I mean, if you've learned about what she went through, it is honestly incredible that was just like, okay. I wouldn't consider that so much a movie decision as more of a, hey, what was Hollywood doing there? You know what I mean? And then, I mean, yeah, Jar Jar Binks kind of, I mean, if you've watched the movies, you know he was kind of a stinker character. But I don't know if I would consider those right next to each other on a top 50 list.
The other thing I wanted to point out on the list is there are some serious topics on this list, like a disaster that happened on the Twilight Zone. A Twilight Zone movie fails to take proper safety precautions, leading to the death of an adult and 2 children. That is number 7 on the list.
What was the accident? That wasn't the one where like a train hit a gurney, right? That was something different. I think that was a different event.
That was something different. This was a helicopter crash.
Wow.
Which is very tragic, but I would like to point out that that is only 7 on the list, and number 4 is Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Academy Awards.
I guess when Rolling Stone said movie decisions, they really meant these are kind of just things that celebrities have done that are kind of weird, and some movie choices. No, I just, with this insane list of drug addiction, not taking roles, 3 dead in a helicopter crash, what is number 1? What does the Rolling Stones consider the worst movie decision ever done?
So there was a probably now racist movie, no, not probably, very racist movie called The Conqueror, starring John Wayne, and it gave its cast cancer and probably, and I'm quoting here, probably definitely kills John Wayne.
Like John Wayne died because of this movie?
Essentially, yes. Like through the effects from this movie, yes.
What was it, like lead paint in the makeup or something?
So, interesting enough, they actually decided to shoot the movie at a nuclear testing site in Utah.
What is this movie about exactly?
I know the Mongol conqueror Genghis Khan was a big part in the movie, and so it is a very it is a quite old. I think it came out in the 50s movie about very not suitable for today's standards. Let's put it at that.
Yeah.
And they probably definitely killed John Wayne. That is the number 1 worst decision Hollywood has made.
You know, that's bad. That is definitely not good. Jar Jar Binks kind of sucks, guys.
Well,
I think we might need to bump that guy.
That ad as bad as Jar Jar Binks?
Like John Wayne died, okay, but like Jar Jar Binks, dude. You know, that is. I would love to get the story about that because. Why were they at a nuclear testing site for a movie about Genghis Khan?
That's a good question.
Rolling
Stone does not include that in the list. They just say that it was a bad decision that they made.
Oh, it was definitely, I would definitely agree, that was not a good decision that they made, 100%.
But yeah, since then, 40% of the crew developed cancer and 21% died from it, including Wayne himself.
You know, jokes aside, that truly is a tragedy that happened. And it is excellent that since events like this, safety standards have actually improved to some significant extent where, you know, as TV production people, we don't have to worry about our producers saying, hey, go to Utah and work by Area 51 where they did the Trinity test. You know what I mean?
I don't think that lines up, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, no one here's a history buff, I'm sure.
Well, speaking of movie news, we watch them, don't we?
Yes, we watch a lot of them. Not to brag, but hold on to your chair. I am a Cinemark's Platinum Rewards member. That is free tickets and increased discounts on food and snacks.
That sounded like a brag.
A little bit. We all can't be me. I mean.
So you've seen some movies recently. What have you seen?
I think one of the best movies I've seen recently is, of course, by Wes Anderson, one of my favorite directors. I mean, he's made Fantastic Mr. Fox, Asteroid City, which is the most recent one I saw. Very interesting movie. He usually does a lot of like, I see a lot of his animated things, so to see him do live action was very interesting. How about you? You've seen it?
I have. I saw it yesterday, actually,
Oh,
because we were talking about it before the show.
Wow.
And yeah, it's definitely, Wes Anderson has a very distinct style, especially on his more recent movies.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a strange movie. All of his movies are strange movies, but this is a strange...
It is a very interesting... I think my one issue, which isn't really so much an issue with the actual movie itself, it's just the whole plot line with like the actual Asteroid City kind of just goes unresolved as it ends in
It just
chaos.
ends. It's just...
But, I mean, besides...
I love the way his movies look.
Yes.
Love the way this movie looks. But at the end, I felt... Okay, have you seen Interstellar?
I have sadly not.
I know people who have seen that movie, and I myself included. The first time you leave the theater slightly confused, and then you might need a rewatch to kind of to grasp everything that's happening.
I felt that way with Tenet, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or just any of those.
Any Christopher Nolan film.
Any Nolan movie.
Except for the Batman. Those are pretty straightforward.
I felt that way with Asteroid City, not because I was confused that I was missing something, just because I was confused if Wes Anderson understood the movie.
What do you mean understood?
It felt like I loved it personally.
Absolutely agree.
But there's a lot of things that are, I can't even say wrong, just weird about it. Just choices that were clearly intentional.
That is definitely
weird.
A movie where that was his vision and he got it on the screen.
He definitely, yes.
I mean, I think one of my favorite parts is just everything done is like a practical effect, like the little Roadrunner thing in the train. It's very, I love practical effects, and those are just amazing in the movie. I also just love how he does the acting. I swear, in the one, the scene with Tom Hanks, and he's talking to the war photographer, and they're getting into a heated argument, and like they both kind of just talking, and then Tom Hanks just completely silently just goes like, and pretends that like,
just straight face staring at each other for a couple seconds, and just
and just there is nobody acts like that's just completely normal. I love it because it's almost like these two characters are on a phone call and they can't see each other.
Yeah.
Like when you're in a heated call with your friend, and you're just like, it's just such a. It was funny. It was really humorous, dare I say. And along with that, I think the little who's the actor that was in The Fly? He was in Jurassic Park. He says a lot. He was the collector in Guardians of the Galaxy. He is...
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. Him as the little alien, that was excellent. Every time that alien was on screen, the little black alien that just like comes out and grabs the ball, the theater just erupted in laughter because it was just such a... It's just funny. I don't know. It was just a very, very interesting, very funny movie. It was definitely now one of my favorites.
And now for a segment we call EJ on the Street.
We sent our friend EJ across campus to ask you the questions that matter the most.
What up? It's EJ. We're at Upper Campus at Luzerne County Community College, and we are asking you the questions that matter. Let's go. Alrighty, we got a guest. What is your name?
John.
All right, John, I got a question for you. Ready?
Yeah.
How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
Well, every night before I go to bed around 3 a.m., I'm amazed as to what they built. And they had plumbing and stuff back then. I was like, wow, honestly.
Hey, life is good when you have a toilet. And now, who are you?
Ignota Smith.
Well, question for you. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
It depends on what I watch on TV, but never.
Never. That's okay. That's all right. The more we know, the more we know. What is your name?
My name's Connor.
Okay, Connor. Here's one for you. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
Oh, every day, man. Every day.
Why?
Well, I don't know. There's something impressive about the scale of it, I think.
The scale of it, like buildings?
No, like just the sheer size. It was the Western world, and for people who had horses, I think that's pretty impressive that they were able to control that much.
Random fact, go.
One of the emperors appointed his horse to the Senate.
A horse running the Senate.
Well, not running the Senate, but a senator. His horse was a senator. Granted, at that time, they were using the lead pipes, and they all had mercury poisoning, so that's why.
All right, Paul. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
Not too much. Not too much.
Why is that? Why?
Because they haven't crossed my mind. I have other things to think about, I guess.
What's your name?
Allie O'Connor.
All right, Allie. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
Not very often.
Well, do you have a reason why, or is it just like, what?
I think my Roman Empire is the Titanic.
The Titanic. Who saw that one coming? Well, I have a question for you. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
I mean, about 30 times a day, maybe more.
30 times a day. Why?
I don't know, because, like, I just imagine, like, being drunk and watching a man 1v1 a lion.
Yeah? Well, I mean, you can't argue with that. Wow. What is your name?
Emma.
Okay, Emma, how often do you think of the Roman Empire?
Well, I'm not a male. On TikTok, I see that all the time. So I'm also in history. So I guess often now. But I never did before that. Or before TikTok brought it up. So.
TikTok wins. Wait a minute, is it because you're in history, or is it because, did you think about it beforehand? No? No?
Other than in history, no.
What is your name?
Tony.
All right, well, here's a question for you. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
Not as much as I want to, actually.
Not as much as you want to. So, why do you say that?
I'd say that because the only time I think about the Roman Empire is when my mind wants to think of like epic battles of sorts. So.
Hold on. Well, so epic battles. Are you kind of into that stuff? Like if you got a chance to learn more about it, would you take advantage of that?
Yeah, I would, if I'm interested in the battle itself. If it's bloody, gory, and just a lot of destruction.
Well, I mean that's the Roman Empire. That's the Roman Empire. What is your name?
Emily Brzezinski.
All right, Emily. Here's a question for you. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
I'd say about twice a year.
Twice a year. Why? Why and what exactly do you think about?
I think about the systems that they used to have, like governmental, and it still plays into today with how our government works. So it makes you think it must have been pretty good if it's still going on today.
That is something I did not think. See, we were out there and we were freezing our tails off. We could have came in here and got all the information that we needed. One last thing. Are you more about the governmental systems, or are you more about the battles and stuff?
Governmental systems.
The governmental systems. See, she cares. She cares.
know, hey, if there's one thing that I can agree with about that segment, life was good when you have a toilet. You know what I'm saying? Who can agree? There's no audience.
All right, so what did we learn from that segment?
Hey, Roman Empire, it is relevant. I mean, I personally think about it, I'd say at least once a week. You know, I mean, I'm in a lot of history groups, and hey, it existed for what, 300, 500 years or something like that? That is huge. That is huge. And you know what? I was surprised. I didn't think it would be, or sorry, I apologize. I did think it would be a mostly male thing, but I mean,
The answers that we got were most genuinely like, yes, I actually care about the Roman Empire, were like, it was pretty evenly mixed.
yeah, absolutely. There was definitely some good answers on both sides.
Yeah. All right. So this is obviously a TikTok trend. So the trend that is following this up is not, do you think of the Roman Empire? It is, what is your Roman Empire?
Mm-hmm.
What's the one event that you just constantly find yourself thinking about?
Me, personally?
Yes.
All right. Cold War, I really like the space race. And the reason I like it is because there's so much discourse over, did the Soviets win, did the U.S. win? I personally think that the U.S. won. I mean, the Soviets, sure, they did everything first, but it's not like they did things we couldn't do. They just did it first because we were... I'm about to go off. I apologize. The U.S. would be like, 6 months from now, we're going to launch a satellite. And the Soviets would be like, we will do it in 4 months. And they would do it first. But the thing that I really think people forget and really decides who won is we land on the moon first. We land on the moon first. That is an incredibly complicated maneuver. Putting a satellite in orbit is nowhere near the same level of just skill and communication and technological prowess compared to landing on the moon. I mean, you have to put a rocket in, orbit the moon, drop the lander on the moon, astronauts went off, took soil samples, planted the flag, got back in, reconnected with the orbiting vehicle, and came back to Earth. I mean, even the Soviets themselves, they said, after it happened, reporters asked, they were like, so are you, like, could you do that? And they were like, no, we are not even close. The Venus rocket that they used was excellent, it was a very good rocket, but it was very difficult to upgrade that rocket, so to do what we did with our rockets, they couldn't get to that. They were very good at getting stuff in space, but the moon landing is just way more advanced, and they even came at themselves. They said, look, the U.S. beat us. I mean, we can't do this maneuver. We're nowhere near that. And I mean, I think it's a very interesting, just the Cold War in general, not just the space race. It's a very interesting part of not just U.S. history, but the entire world. I mean, every country was affected. I mean, after World War II, every superpower was essentially destroyed except for the U.S. and the Soviets. I mean, the U.K. was obliterated. France, Germany, Italy, destroyed. They were recovering. The only nations that really were able to stand up on their own was the Soviets and the U.S., and you can see the effect that had on every country. I mean, the Berlin Wall, all of these things. Not to go on a history lecture, it's just I think it's a very interesting thing that we kind of breeze over, but I mean, even the effects it had then can be seen now. But what is your Roman Empire, Bobby?
Nerd.
Okay.
Did you ever hear of the 1904 World's Fair?
Is that the one where they had the massive steam engine power the whole thing? Or am I thinking of a different one?
You probably think of a different one.
I think it
This
would've
is
been
the one
earlier.
that went in line with the third Olympics.
I'm not familiar now.
So the year is 1904. The World's Fair is being held at St. Louis, Missouri, in honor of the centennial celebration of the Louisiana Purchase.
Okay.
And so the International Olympic Committee was just formed in the 1890s. They're on there, they're like doing this whole thing to bring back the Olympics of the old days.
Of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, sure. So they do two. they do one in Athens, and then they do one in Paris, and they're going to do the third in Chicago. Except St. Louis basically threatens the International Olympic Committee to hold the Olympics in St. Louis instead, alongside the World's Fair.
Okay. It's a little combo deal.
Yes. Now, the World's Fair is just like this whole spiel. But the highlight event was the marathon. It was a disaster. It was a disaster.
I think
to say the
I
least.
am remembering what you're going to be talking about, but continue with it. I think I remember now hearing about this event.
There were 32 participants. A few were actual marathoners. Majority were middle distance runners, meaning they don't do long distance race. They only do maybe a few miles, like 5K, 10K, stuff like that. There were 10 Greeks, never ran a marathon. There are 2 men from the Swana tribe of South Africa who just happened to be at the fair on exhibit.
Oh, like they were the exhibit.
Yes, they were the exhibit. Very different time.
Very old world.
Very turn of the century of them. And there was a Cuban mailman named Felix. The favorite to win made it several blocks. He collapsed, vomited profusely.
Like
terrible.
several blocks in?
Yes, several blocks in.
And just for clarity, this was an Olympic event?
This was an official Olympic event of the 3rd Olympics.
Okay.
The conditions were terrible. It was way too hot. The course only had 2 water stops by design because it was used as an experiment. So they wanted to see how far humans can run without water. The course was changed and not checked beforehand, so it was mostly just dirt trail.
Okay.
Very dusty.
Yeah.
Because it was very, not desert, but like a desert.
It's like a walking trail, so there's not going to be a lot of like.
The top few favorites, none of them finished the race. The 2 men from the Swana tribe made it 9th and 12th. Keep in mind, they did not have shoes.
Wow.
And the only reason that the one did not finish better because he was chased over a mile off course from wild dogs.
You know what? If that is not dedication to completing the race, I mean, they're just just different back then. I mean,
several people almost died. Felix, the mailman, he showed up in long pants, long shirt, vest, hat, the whole spiel. He raised enough money to run the race, gambled it all away the day before, hitchhiked to the place. He was like way ahead. He stopped in an apple orchard, ate an apple, took a nap, stomach aches, food poisoning. He finished 4th, by the way.
That is impressive.
Originally, the people the spectators of the arena saw that someone had crossed the finish line. And it turned out that he had not actually won. He actually hitchhiked the entire race. He got so far, gave up, hitched a ride back to the stadium to get his clothes, and when he was the first one back, they just assumed that he won.
They really didn't really care to fact check. Oh, you're the first to cross, okay, you're good. We didn't think any of you would make it, so it's a miracle you did.
Who was 2nd place and then ended up being 1st place after the 1st place was disqualified for obviously hitching a ride.
Did the 1st place guy try to pass off that he made it in 1st? Or was
Not really. Like when he kind of got back into the stadium, they saw that, oh, this was a runner. He was jogging back into the stadium to get his stuff. He must have won. And he just kind of rolled with it to see how far he got until he's like on the podium, like getting the wreath and everything from like the president's daughter. And then it's like, no, actually that guy, I saw him get in a car. He is disqualified. And as that's happening, the actual winner, who, by the way, is probably like barely clinging to life, he asked for food. He got raw egg whites.
Oh.
He asked for water. His trainers gave him brandy. And when he asked to stop, they gave him what was then believed to be a stimulant and is now known to be rat poison. So he's barely functioning, his face is gray, he's hallucinating, but he keeps going. He's basically carried over the finish line, and he won.
Hey.
This event almost destroyed the Olympics. Because remember, this is only the third Olympics ever. Like, well, not ever, but like in its modern sense.
Hundreds of years.
Yes. So this nearly just destroyed, like the Olympics were nearly like dead by the third.
How were the first two?
Olympiad. Fine.
No
incidents. No incidents whatsoever.
2 perfect runs, and then the third one is just chaos.
All because some dude in St. Louis wanted to have the Olympics there instead of Chicago.
How was the World's Fair, though?
It was great.
It
was a great time.
I imagine
I had a great time.
You know, a family shows up, and one kid goes to the World's Fair, the other goes to the Olympics. They meet up in the end. You won't believe what happened.
They had ice cream there.
That
was the first time they had ice cream cones.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is tight.
That is, yeah. So after you nearly died running a marathon, you can go over a few blocks and get yourself a nice ice cream cone.
All at the 1904 Olympics. If that isn't the American way, I don't know what is.
And on that note, I think we're going to close today. I think that's all the time we have today.
Yeah.
Tune in next time for another episode of Trailing Off, where we talk about everything else.
See you next time.